Hi, this video is going to walk you through the steps to create a detailed lesson plan, and I'm using the Literature Circle lesson plan template because this one is more closely going to align with the types of lesson plans you'll be creating once you enter student teaching. So I'm going to walk you through primarily the top portion, and then I'm going to just talk a little bit about the learning activities section down at the bottom there. So before I get started actually writing the lesson plan, I'm using Screencast-O-Matic to create this video, which is one of the options you can use for the Literature Circle book commercial. There's other options, and we'll be talking about those on Monday in class on Monday. But just so you know, I am using Screencast-O-Matic. It's super easy. When I do create a lesson plan, I like to have all of my resources open. So here I have the lesson plan template, and then I'm going to go into Blackboard, and under week 1 is where you're going to find, under learning activities, you're going to find the ELD standards that we need to have open here and the Common Core standards for English language arts. And I already have those open up in my toolbar up there. The other document I'd like to bring your attention to is the depth of knowledge chart. So here's the depth of knowledge chart. We haven't talked much about it, but you are going to use it to identify what level you think your students will be performing in your lesson plan. This chart down here, I have it open here, actually has suggested activities down at the bottom. So this is a really valuable resource for you to have open. So let's see, we've got the Common Core standards, the ELD standards. The other resource that I would suggest opening up is go to week 3, learning activities, and my PowerPoint presentation on LPAC and SIOP. Those are going to have the different SIOP strategies you're going to need to adapt your lesson plan for your English language learners. And SIOP strategies are actually really beneficial to SPED students, students with special needs. And then we'll look at how we can challenge our gifted learners. All right, so I want to just jump right into the lesson plan. So obviously, first thing is you type your name, and I've already got my name here. Now you're going to decide on the lesson topic. For the lesson plans you're going to create for the Literature Circle project, you're either going to do a vocabulary lesson, well, you're going to do one of each, my apologies. You're going to create a vocabulary lesson plan and a reading comprehension lesson plan. So I'm going to choose reading comprehension, and what you're going to do is you're going to decide what grade level do you want to work with. So I have the Common Core English Language Arts standards already open here, and I like 5th grade because that's where a lot of my experience is. So I'm going to go to reading literature. Remember, the RL stands for reading literature, and we have the different categories: key ideas and details, craft and structure, integration of knowledge. So this is kindergarten, grade 1 and 2. I'm going to scroll down. Here's grade 5. So for key ideas and details, we have quote accurately from a text when explaining what the text says explicitly and when drawing inferences. I'm going to choose this one, and I want to point out here that when you choose a standard, you're not going to use everything in that standard. So for example, for this one, we have quote accurately from a text when explaining what the text says explicitly. That could be one focus for a lesson plan. And then we have quote accurately from a text when drawing inferences. That is a second lesson plan. So you would want to choose one or the other, what the text says explicitly or when drawing inferences. I'm going to choose drawing inferences, but when you write the standard, you have to include the entire standard. So you just highlight it and copy and paste. I've kind of already done that right here. So when you copy and paste your quote into the lesson plan template, let me write the lesson topic. So the lesson topic is going to be drawing inferences. And I'll get to the DOK level in just a moment. So then I'm going to copy and paste my Common Core standard here. So RL stands for reading literature. The number 5 stands for 5th grade. The number 1 is the first standard. That's the number of the standard that I chose. You can see number 1 here. And then you actually I put in quotation marks. You paste the entire standard there. Sometimes you're going to have more than one standard. For my example video, I'm not going to have more than one. I'm going to move into learning outcomes. Now that I have my standard, so first you choose your grade level, your standard, and then you can figure out your lesson topic. Now I get to create my learning outcomes, and these are basically the objectives. I do ask that you use this sentence frame here. Learners will be able to do by doing, and I've already created those just for time's sake, so I'm just going to copy and paste from this document. And I'm using Walk Two Moons as my example text for this lesson plan video. So my first learning outcome is learners will be able to draw inferences from Walk Two Moons by orally making predictions with a partner at the end of chapter 5. So you see my outcome is very detailed. It's very specific. So here's the standard, draw inferences. And here's how they're going to draw inferences. They're going to make predictions. And how am I going to be able to assess whether they're making predictions? Well, they're going to be discussing orally with a partner, and while they're discussing orally with a partner, I'm going to walk around and listen. Now this one, really you only need like the informal kind of formative assessment of the teacher observing and listening, because making predictions, really there isn't a right or wrong answer. It's pretty much what the student thinks is going to happen. You do want to listen to make sure that they're actually talking about the text in question, though. So if they're not talking about Walk Two Moons, then you might want to intervene and have a little conversation about, kind of showing them how to make predictions about the text that you're reading with them. So my second learning outcome is learners will be able to demonstrate their ability to draw inferences, again, here's my standard, from Walk Two Moons by creating a character analysis of Salamanca Treehittle's feelings using evidence from the text. So the final product of this learning outcome is this character analysis, and it's going to be a little graphic organizer. This is going to be my summative assessment. I'm going to use this to measure whether students understood how to draw inferences about the character's feelings. And to really focus in on the standard, I included using evidence from the text. So again, my learning outcome is very detailed. Now we're going to move to the ELD standard, and I'm going to go to the ELD standard framework. And here we have, I'm at 5th grade, so you want to go to whatever grade level you chose for your Common Core Language Arts standard. And I'm going to come down here, and anytime you throw any kind of peer partner work or collaboration, you've got an ELD standard already. So I might say exchanging information and ideas with others through oral collaborative discussions on a range of social and academic topics. So boom, there's my ELD standard. So to write the ELD standard, I'm just going to copy the entire standard. And let's see, where am I at? So, oops, I can't remember. We are part 1, so here's part 1. So you can put part 1 or P1, part 1, and then it's A, because that's I'm going to jump back and forth just so you can see that indicates that this is the collaborative section of the standard. So A, and then 5 for 5th grade, point 1. Very similar to the ELA standard. So see how the standard I chose is 1 here. Okay, so yeah. Anyways, I'm just going to use this. And then, just like with the other one, I'm just going to use quotation marks and paste the entire standard right in there. So there's my ELD standard. Now, using that ELD standard, you have to write a new objective. Please don't just use the learning objective for the entire lesson. You have to have a specific ELD objective. So ELL, I'll just spell it out. English language learners will participate in a partner share to exchange information and ideas from the book Walk Two Moons. Now this one I'm just making up as I go. English language learners will participate in a partner share to exchange information and ideas from the book Walk Two Moons. So there's my ELD objective. You might have more than one ELD objective using this standard, but I'm just going to do one for now. Now we move down to materials, resources, and educational technology. So I'm going to kind of skip this part just for time's sake because I have to get this video done within 15 minutes. So you'll just list any materials or resources that you're going to be using. So maybe you're going to use the document camera. Obviously, the Walk Two Moons book would be here, the graphic organizer. So I'm going to jump down here to the learning activities. In our learning activities section column, you're going to be creating a detailed anticipatory set. And then in this next box, you're going to do learning activities. So how are you going to introduce the skill? How are you going to provide students with guided practice and then independent practice? And down here is where you're going to have your assessment strategies and then differentiation strategies. This column is your rationale for selecting the strategies that you've used. And you can indicate if they're SADI, SIOP, UDL, differentiation, all that good stuff. So what I'd like to do, I'm not really sure how much time I have. I'm going to move that. Okay, I have less than 5 minutes. So what I would like to do is I'm just going to very briefly talk about each of these sections. So for the anticipatory set, you could use a video, or what I'm going to use for my anticipatory set is I'm going to use a book. And what I'd like to do is I'm just going to insert a picture of the book title. So I'm going to go to my pictures. Sorry, you're going to see all of my messiness. So let's see, I am going to use, oh, here it is, Free Fall. So there's a wordless picture book called Free Fall, and I'm going to use that as my anticipatory set because using a wordless picture book allows students to draw inferences. So we're going to do like a picture walk. And so to open up this lesson, I will use the wordless picture book Free Fall to help students draw inferences. So, and obviously there's going to be a lot more detail to this. I would include like where I'm going to stop and talk, what kind of questions I'm going to ask. So, you know, I might use this very first cover picture and say, based on the title and the picture, what do you think this book will be about? Turn to a partner and share. So it's basically you have to include as many details as a teacher would need to pick up this lesson plan and give the lesson without any questions. So, you know, you're going to have more than just this, but I'm just giving you an example of how I would open up and hook the students. So then I'm going to move down to learning activities. And here I'm going to introduce the skill. So to introduce the skill of making predictions, I will first read pages, 12 through 13 in Walk Two Moons. So very detailed. At the end of page 13, I will stop and make a prediction. So basically, there's prediction again, prediction. So let me just show you really quickly how you would create a rationale for that in this column. So I am using teacher modeling to show students how to make a prediction. Then over here, I'm going to actually include what I'm going to say. I think Salamanca and her friend are going to run away from the stranger in front of her house. So you'd have to have read the story to understand, but basically that's what I would say. You want to include what you would say to demonstrate how to make a prediction. I also need to demonstrate and teach students how to draw inferences about the character's feelings. So I'm going to include that in there to model for students how to draw inferences about a Salamanca's feelings. I will, and then indicate what you're going to do, where you're going to do that. So this is basically the introduction to the skill. That's all I've done so far. Then you're going to have some kind of guided practice. Guided practice is where students will work together and then the independent practice. I'm running out of time. So you've got to have these 3 components. Down here, you're going to include the assessment strategy. So my teacher observations would be a formative assessment strategy. I'm just going to spell incorrectly. And then the summative assessment strategy would be the